Hello, my name is Russell Myers, independent for U.S. President for 2024. If you hear thunder in the background, yes, there's a storm going on while I'm recording this. So, a major concern in this country is the state of our education system, from childhood through adult education. It is no secret to anyone paying attention that our basic education in this country lags far behind every other developed nation. I don't need to give specific statistics on this. One reason for this is that we spend far more on the incarceration system than we do on education. This stems from what began during the Reagan era with the tough on crime movement, which has resulted in a higher incarceration rate, which got worse under Clinton, which means a higher cost for incarceration. That money has to come from somewhere, and one major place it comes from is taken away from education. I'll cover criminal justice reform separately, but for now, the important point to make is that my policy will be to reduce the amount of money being spent on incarceration, which frees up funding for more productive things like education. While numbers will have to be examined, my policy will be to drastically increase federal basic educational funding. I will also establish school funding standards which will mandate that any municipality, including city and county, will have to devote equal and fair funding for each student attending school in that municipality. It is unfair that schools on one side of a city or county receives higher funding for each student than another school in another section of the same city or county. All children deserve an equal education, no matter what their socioeconomic status is. Private and charter schools will receive only equal funding per student as per public schools, and must demonstrate that their expenditures per student are equal to public schools in the same municipality. For adult education, let me state that I am in favor of student loan forgiveness. However, before that can be done, we have to fund universal adult education. If we do not address these concerns in this order, what would happen would be that current and future students would be incurring new debt, starting the student debt cycle all over again. So it would be my policy to implement universal adult education. This would be by funding 2- and 4-year state and city colleges and universities for adult education. This will not include books or housing as of this time, but we can revisit this program at a later date. Schools will be funded per student at rates which cover all educational expenses within an average for a given area. For-profit schools will only be allowed if they agree to the same rate per student, and this will only apply to accredited schools. To be clear, they will have to provide the education with no additional cost. They're not going to get money from the government and then charge the student as well. If they do not agree to this, then they will not be eligible for any federal funding at all, ever. End of story. There will be no more federal student loans available for 2 to 4 year adult education because it will be paid for. Private schools will not be eligible for student loan programs. Federal student loans will remain available for graduate level studies. I understand that a lot of people will complain about all of this, so let me explain the rationale. I will start with funding adult education. It is common sense that students who must work, especially full-time, while attending college, tend to struggle a lot more with their studies. In some cases, the exhaustion and stress cause them to fail or drop out. If they do drop out, they are left with remaining student loan debt for which they see no benefit. They will be paying on that debt for years. This is part of a system which is favorable to the wealthy who can attend college without having to work at the same time. Full disclosure, my daughter is attending university but does not have to work. This is only because she earned a full scholarship and she has 3 adults lending to her support. I did not stop paying toward her support when she reached 18 years old. I had always planned on helping her get through college, so it was not a sacrifice for me. It made no drastic change to my monthly budget. Very few students have that benefit. Even in this case, things could have turned out somewhat differently. One problem with federal student loan debt is that this can increase the chances of holders of that debt failing financially where they would not otherwise fail. One can graduate with a degree and not be able to gain employment in their field of study, leaving them in employment which pays less than the profession for which they studied. Some will complain about certain fields of study, but this most often has to do with how saturated a field is, or how much of that field has been outsourced to other countries. 2 major examples of this are business management and administration and computer programming. In business management, the problem is that so many students attend college for that program that the field is oversaturated. This has become even more true in recent years as we have seen retail and manufacturing facilities close at very high rates. There are many people with business degrees working in low-wage jobs. In computer programming, so much programming has been outsourced to other countries that it has depleted the number of domestic jobs available and driven down the pay rates in that field. If you don't believe me, just go to Fiverr and see how many programmers there are in other countries willing to take on web design and programming projects at rates far below what you would pay a domestic programmer. I am not disparaging workers in other countries. I am merely pointing out facts. If a person defaults on a federal student loan, it carries heavy consequences. About the only things which are worse are a felony conviction or dishonorable discharge from the military. By comparison, defaulting on a student loan is not a reflection of a person's character, yet each of these will follow you for the rest of your life, decreasing your chances of getting a decent job, a mortgage, or even a car loan. You may get a mortgage or a car loan, but you will pay much higher interest rates, leaving you forever in debt. If you default, the government acts as a debt collector for the bank. They can attach your pay seize your tax refunds, even seize your bank account until the debt is paid. The negative effect on your credit rating is permanent. It is worse than a bankruptcy, which expires after 10 years after it has been discharged. Most importantly is the effect on the general economy. Now, let me go back there. Oh, yeah, and if you declare bankruptcy, that student loan debt will not be forgiven, period, at all. You still have to pay it. All right, so again, all right, most importantly is the effect on the general economy, which I am the only person I have ever heard speak about it in detail. Right now, millions of students pay billions of dollars in payments on student loans debt every month. This is money which is not spent in the general economy. It is not spent supporting small businesses in your community. Just the debt, in good standing, reduces the chance of getting a mortgage or a car loan. In all, it reduces consumer spending by an equal amount, which is billions each month. That means that debt reduces business profits, which reduces available jobs. Each time you reduce jobs, you reduce consumer spending even further, meaning less money spent in restaurants, bars, clothing shops, grocery stores, etc. It means fewer homes and cars built. Each time you reduce jobs, you reduce business profits plus local and state tax revenue. Revenue which would otherwise go to paying teachers, fixing potholes, paving streets, upgrading sewer systems and water lines, replacing leaded pipes which deliver water to your home. Student debt does absolutely nothing to benefit the economy. It damages the economy, especially at the local level. Money paid to student loans most often goes to corporate banks in other states. That money is removed from the economy in very real terms. When a loan from a bank is created, the money did not exist when the borrower walked into the bank. It is created from thin air at the time of the loan. When the money is paid back, it does not continue to exist except for the wages and bonuses paid to bank executives and dividends paid to wealthy investors. All of this goes back to how and why new currency is created. Lastly, student debt load carries a heavy emotional burden for those who carry that debt and their families. Debt is the leading cause of anxiety, which leads to depression, anxiety, anger management issues, decreased productivity, substance abuse, the majority of divorces, cardiac issues, immune system deficiencies, and suicide. It degrades your quality of life, even if you are not the one holding that debt, whether you know it or not. If we truly want this country to be competitive on the global market, not only in economic terms, but in general life satisfaction, then we absolutely must improve the quality of education across the board, including the debt which education incurs. Now, please share this article or video and talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand the campaign. If you cannot afford it, then believe me when I say I understand, you can still help the campaign by sharing the knowledge about the campaign in any way you can. And I appreciate it no matter what kind of support you can offer. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.